Hello everybody and welcome to Kabbalah of Adam. We are going to dedicate this class to Terry Rosentrader, and we are going to, this is our seventh class in Ezekiel. We are going to go through Ezekiel, Sefer Yetzirah, and Talmud and Hagigah today. So without further ado, let's get with our prayer here and learn some good Torah. Ruler of the universe and master of all masters, Father of mercy and forgiveness, we thank you, our God and the God of our fathers, by bowing down and kneeling, that you brought us closer to your Torah and your holy work, and that you enable us to take part in the secrets of your holy Torah. How worthy are we that you grant us with such a big favor. That is the reason we plead before you, that you will forgive and acquit all of our sins, and they should not bring separation between you and us. And may it be your will before you, our God and the God of our fathers, that you will awaken, prepare our hearts to love and revere you. And may you listen to our utterances and open our closed heart to the hidden studies of your Torah. And may our study be pleasant before your place of honor as a aroma of sweet incense. And may you emanate to us light from the source of our soul to all of our being. And may the sparks of your holy servants, through which you revealed your wisdom to the world, shine. And may their merit and the merit of their fathers and the merit of their Torah and holiness support us, so we shall not stumble through our study. And by their merit and light in our eyes, in our learning, as stated by King David, the sweet singer of Israel, open my eyes so that I will see wonders from your Torah. Because from his mouth God gives wisdom and understanding. May the utterance of my mouth and the thoughts of my heart find favor before you, God, my strength and my Redeemer. Amen. All righty. Let's go to Ezekiel. And we're going to do 14, 15, 16, 17, and 18 today. We're going to do 4 whole verses in our trek of knowledge. Okay, I'm going to back up here just real quick and read 13. As for the likeness of the Hayyot, their appearance were like fiery coals, burning like the appearance of torches, spread about among the Hayyot with the brilliance of fire, and from the fire went forth lightning. Now, verse 14, the Hayyot ran to and fro like the appearance of a flash. So, what is, I'll go ahead and read through where we're, and then we'll go back through it. I saw the Hayyot, and behold, one ophel was on the surface near each of the Hayyot by its 4 faces. The appearance of the ophanim and their nature were like the colors of Tarshish, with the same likeness for the 4 of them. And their appearance and their works were as if they would be a wheel within a wheel. Now in the Hebrew it says an ophon within an ophon. That's important. When they went, they would go toward their 4 sides. They did not turn as they went. They had backs and they were tall. So what's our kasha question right now? They had backs.
They had backs.
Yeah.
Did they have a front?
Well, they had a front, but he says they have backs. So what's our huge kasha question?
Well, I don't know. Were they back to back?
No. There is no back-to-back there in absolute, which means there is no backside.
But they had backs.
He says they had backs. And God told Moses, come in from my backside, right? Mm-hmm. Okay? So we're going to have to figure out what that is. They were tall and they were fearsome. Their backs were full of eyes, surrounding the 4 of them. And that's where we're going to stop. All right, so there's a lot of kasha in there. How you have backs full of eyes. What's the height? What are they doing being tall? What are they doing with the backside? If they're all moving in the same direction, how can there be how can he be seeing the other side when you're in this whole thing? So here we go. Now, the Ritzov Vishov, the running and returning, that is, we can also say that is a shashua. Shashua is a pulsation. If you ever grabbed an electric fence and it popped you, that's a shashua. Okay? And, you know, for so long we've taught it in this manner. We've taught it the dance of Hasidim and Guvarot. The dance of Hasidim and Guvarot is running and returning. That's the dance. It's Ritzov Vishov. It's dancing. So now we can expound on the dance of Hasidim and Guvarot, because we've always said, every time you see Hasidim, you're going to see Guvarot. You're going to have the dance of Hasidim and Guvarot. That's just the way it is. So, verse 14, the Hayots ran to and fro like the appearance of a flash. Rav Ali says, this is to allude that the Shefa is always collaborating according to its receivers. So it's giving and going back. Giving and going back. Giving and going back. Because the fear sends them back. There's so much ecstasy that they can't stand it anymore. Then there becomes holy dread and it returns. One within the other. Because of their fear of the supernal light. Because they cannot receive the shefa of the histashalut, of the whole thing in this manner. You can't take it in one gulp. What happens? Shattering of the vessels. And they know that. So eat a little bit. You know, it's like a slice of pizza. You take one slice of pizza, you're too afraid to eat the whole thing in one bite, right? You choke to death. So you take a little piece, eat it, go back and get another one. Same thing. Because of the depth of the matter that they are understanding and their ability to grasp it. So this is a great teaching on studying Torah and learning Torah at this level. You know, you learn a little bit. You're good. If you tried to ingest everything that was said, you would be overwhelmed. That's called fear of the supernal light. So you eat a little bit, digest it, learn a little bit. Next time, learn a little bit more. Next time, learn a little bit more. They're doing the same thing. All right? That's why it takes years to learn all the Torah. It takes them years. Same thing. We are running the program. All right? Therefore, the lights of Kedusha all function in this manner and in this way. To the way of Ritzov Vishov. Everything functions like that. As it says in the Sefer Yitzrah, if your heart runs to attempt to understand it, return to the place. Now, I think it's in 1:7.
1:6 is what we talked about.
Yep.
This year, talking about something else.
Yeah, 1:6 is for sure one of them. But I think there's one. Yes. If you have the Sefer Yitzrah, turn to page 66. 1:8. Right? The 10 spherotes of nothingness bridle your mouth from speaking and your heart from thinking. And if your heart runs, return to the place. It is therefore written, the chayots, running and returning. What is another term that we have used throughout our study of Masa Breshit that would be how this whole thing is created? It's probably going to be in the first chapter. We know when you have the Simsum and the Kav, right? Mm-hmm. Simsum is running and returning. Sim, Sum. Simsum, 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 Simsum. It started that way, and that's the way it always will be. So every time we've used the word Simsum in the past, you can now use running and returning. Ritzo v'shov. Ezekiel 1:24. Regarding this, a covenant was made. A covenant is a brit. A brit is a seal. The in and out must have a seal. It's sealed. That is why each world is sealed from the next world. Asiya can't get into Yetzirah. Yetzirah can't get into Berea. Berea can't get into Atzilut. Each world is sealed upon its own. It can only receive from the world above it, and then receive and then send back. You know, that's the deal. So that was in Sefer Yetzirah, page 66. If you want to look that up at home, in 1:8. Return to its place. The place is called Makom. Remember our study on Makom? The place where I choose to put my name, the Eben Shtia, Jerusalem, that whole thing. As it says, and the Chayots were running and returning. Now, go to page 51 in the Sefer Yetzirah. The 10 Sefirot of nothingness. This is 1:6. If you have one of these, 1:6. The 10 Sefirot of nothingness. Their vision was like the appearance of lightning, which we read that in verse 13. Their limit has no end, and his word in them is running and returning. They rush to his sayings like a whirlwind. Now, what we know that Elijah was taken up in a whirlwind, and we also learn that Enoch was taken up in a whirlwind on a chariot with a horse. It's always been that way. And before his throne, they prostrate themselves. So now we're getting a better understanding what Ravali's doing with this. He's being able to break it down of supernal light and information and receiving it, and then it being too much and the fear of it, and it's running and returning. And they're getting this is the Hashmal, and they're feeding off the Noga. And we'll get into Noga and Hashmal a little bit more as the class goes on. Now, on this matter, a Brit was made. This because Devar equals Malchut, like Devarim. They're making the covenant. You know, a covenant is a sealing being made. It's being sealed. What is this flash? Appearance of a flash. The word here, bazak. As I explained last time we talked about this, if you're ever on the 4th of July and you have a sparkler and you light a sparkler and shh, that's the image that we have to use here to explain what's going on. Because the word of bazak means to sprinkle or sparkle. So a sparkler is sprinkling sparkles. It's the best way to explain it. Because the word barak means lightning. So you have the Resh and the Zion, because they're guttural letters, they are interchangeable. All right? So the first time he said it was lightning, and now he's saying it's barak, and now it's bazak. It's the same thing. All right? Those terms can be used interchangeably. And he says, certainly this is coming from the highest source. Well, what's the highest source? The Ein Sof. From the heavens that have been torn open, it is sparkling down. It's like sprinkling salt on the korban. So now we know why they sprinkled salt on the korban. It's part of this running and returning this light. We know under each hayot is are the ophanim, the ophans. Okay, so you have ophan, hayot, seraphim. All right, Asiya, Yetzirah, Berea. So we know under each hayot is an ophan. This because they are writing the ophan is the thing that's carrying the hayot, and the hayot's the thing that's carrying the seraphim. This is called a chariot, a Merkava. Merkava is movement. Merkava is the return. Merkava is the bottom signal going back, and Breshit, Masa Breshit is the top signal coming down. So it's okay. There are the horses, the riders, and the wheels. The horses are the hayot, the creatures. And the ophan are the wheels. Our world is round and everything in it. Our solar system, our earth, the orbit, everything is made in an ophan shape, which is a circular wheel, the spheroids, you name it. Everything is made in that manner. Our eyes, everything is circular because we are in the world of curved light. Gulim and Yosher. Straight light, curved light. Now, let's read 14 again. The hayots ran to and fro like the appearance of a flash. And that's what how Rav Vali explained that verse. Verse 15. I saw the hayot, and behold, one ophan was on the surface near each of the hayot by its four faces. Now he focuses on Asiya, the surface. And he encounters, who would he encounter? Who is the one ophan in Asiya? What would this one ophan's name be? Metatron? Sandalphon. Sandalphon is the one ophan that is the leader of all the ophanim. He is called the minister of the forest. Now, do y'all remember when we were reading Hagigah? So if you have Hagigah, this is Tractate Hagigah. This is book number 22. If you would, turn to Hagigah 13b2. The Gemara returns to Ezekiel. I saw the hayot, and behold, this is our verse. One ophan was on the earth with this hayot. Rabbi Eliezer said, this refers to a particular angel who stands on the ground. What ground is that? The world of Asiya. While he reaches into the heavens until it is with the hayot. A brisa related. It was taught in a brisa. His name is Sandalphon, who is taller than his colleagues by a journey of 500 years. And he stands behind the chariot and weaves crowns for his maker. The Gemara questions this statement. Is this indeed so, that he weaves crowns for his creator? This implies that he knows where to place the finished crowns, because it is written, blessed is the glory of Hashem from his place. And in a minute, Rav Vali is going to come around and answer that. Where, you know, if that world is sealed from this world, is sealed from that one, and he's weaving crowns for its place, how does he know where the place is? There's our kasha. But we are going to resolve it later as we read. So we know that Sandalphon is called the minister of the forest. This is really big. Because if you turn now to Hagiga 14b1. And remember this class that I taught on the Hashmal and the fire and the divine presence and all in Masa Merkava, about teaching Masa Merkava. Look on the right-hand column, about midway down. Let's just start from the ascension of the donkey, descension of the donkey. It is conceivable that you will expound on Masa Merkava, and the divine presence shall be with us, which is the Shekhinah. The ministering angel shall accompany us. And I would be riding on a donkey. In other words, I would want to be in 3D. Immediately, Rabbi Eliezer ben Arak began his discourse on Masa Merkava and expounded. And fire descended from heaven and surrounded all the trees in the field. Who is minister of the forest? The guy they were just talking about one little tractate before. Well, not a tractate, but paragraph before, right? In 13b. Mm-hmm. Who is Sandalphon? What song did they utter? Praise from Shem from the earth, the sea giants, and all the watery depths. The fruit trees and all the cedars began to speak. Hallelujah. Sing hallelujah. Why? Because that's the Etz Chaim. That's the tree of life. We know that the cedars are yesod, fruit trees. There's the fruit. That's female. Because there's your hug, there's your running and returning, there's your Hasidim and Guvarot, there's your Ritzov Vishov, and all the trees start singing. Why? Because he is minister of the forest. Sandalphon shows up. And an angel spoke from the midst of the fire and said, Hain, Hain. Why would he say yes, yes? Because there has to be, it's if he can't say yes until the one above him says yes. And that one can't say yes, so the Ophon can't say yes until the Hayot says yes. Because he can't do anything of his own. He's Malchut. He has nothing of its own. So it has to come, so basically it had to come all the way from the Ein Sof to the Or Ein Sof, to Adam Kadmon, through Ab Zagman Ben, through the world of Akudim, Nekudim, Berudim, from Atik, Arik, Abba, Ima, Zanuk, all the way down Octrael, Sandalph, Metatron. It had to go through everything, Seraphim, Chayot, to the Orphim, to the head of the Orphim, for him to say yes. Yes, yes. Havaya, Adonai. Yes, yes. It's just the way it works. And now we know why the trees were singing. Because he's minister of the forest. Now, remember, I made a comment a week or so ago that the righteous non-Jew, the Ger, is the furthest part away from Ein Sof for the signal to run and return to the Klippa, right? And one of the things we've always said in the class, we've learned this from Rabbi, if you don't understand Noga, you can't talk about Ger, Noahide, we'll call it righteous non-Jew, if you don't understand Noga. Why? Because if you don't understand Noga, you don't understand Hashmal. Hashmal is the Jew as it relates to the 70 that are the Noga. Right? And the Noga would become like the light. What light? the hashmal. So why was there this Ger war? We'll call it the Ger Noahide War. Why? Because until the Jew knows what he is, he can't recognize the Ger. So just go be a Noahide, go stay over there, just do your 7, and don't bother us with questions. We're not going to answer this. We're not going to, because until he understands Hashmal, he cannot explain Noga. All right? So, where do we learn this? From teachings years ago. Remember, in Psalms, in the middle of Psalms, there is I think it's maybe 80, Psalm 80, somewhere around there. Remember, there is a floating ayin in the word, is it?
81, 16?
See if you can find the floating ayin for me. We'll give them an actual,
Try 81, 16.
because Sandalphon is the head malach of the forest. Forest is gematria par. 80, 16, somewhere around it. I think it's in 80.
80,
Yeah.
16.
Yeah. The floating ayin.
Right here.
Is it what verse? 80, 16?
Somebody marked it in
I
that
have
book.
it highlighted.
There you go. Okay. If you want to look in Psalms and look in the Hebrew and in verse 16, you will see a floating ayin above the word.
It's 4th line from the bottom.
4th line from the bottom. Okay? Because the word that precedes the forest is hazir. And the floating ayin refers to the head of Esau, as we have learned. And it's collected by the minister of the forest, who is Sandalphon. So Yud Ayin Resh Yar is forest. Its gematria is 280, which is the par dinim, the red heifer, the ger deal, as we taught in our red heifer class a decade ago. So here is your 70. Here is your noga. Here is your sprinkling, sparkling fire. This is the secret of the ger, because without the ger, if you don't have hashmal, you can't have ger. But once you have hashmal, you have noga. Now you have Antoninus and the Rebbe. You have Jethro and Moses. You have Abraham and Eleazar. This whole thing is a formula. It is more to it than go do your 7 and go over there. You're doing nothing back. You're doing something in 3D, but you're doing nothing in 4D. Because you're not getting Masa Breshit. I'm not going to teach you Torah. I'm not going to teach you this. I'm not going to teach you that. I'm not going to teach you anything, which is called, I'm not going to give you Masa Breshit. If I don't give you Masa Breshit, how can you possibly give me Masa Merkava? That's the difference. That's why we were able to succeed in what we did. Esau is the backside of Sandalphon. That's the Hiddish. So, back to our studies. Sandalphon is din. There's holy din, and there's unmitigated 3D collapsed din. Holy fire, Gehenna. That is the rule in Asiya. This Ophon is Sandalphon in the singular because he is in the world of the ones, Malchut are the world of ones. Yetzirah is the world of tens. Beriah is the world of hundreds. And yet Atzilut is the world of thousands. And Solomon had 1,000 wives. 700 and 300. So because he is in the world of ones, it's called a single ophon. Only because it's a sia. It's telling you where it's located. It's not telling you how many is there. This singular ophon is special because he is in charge of all the other ophons. It's called ophon echad, like haya echad. It is unified. So, Kasha question. Who is sitting on the throne when, because we haven't got there yet, but just a brain teaser. Who is sitting on the throne when Ezekiel sees a man sitting on the throne? Is it, we'll say God, Adam, all those, the same thing, okay? Mm-hmm. Or is it Ezekiel? Now the ophon are by the hayot on all four sides, called the four faces. Sar ha panim, faces. Sin is cutting the connection, cutting the shoots, right? This is removing the hay, as we have learned, from Yesa Hanotri, made a hole in Yetzirah and removed the hay, the son of the Israelite woman. Remember our studies on that? Because there's no running and returning when you remove the hay, when the Shekhinah is in exile, when it's separation between he and his name. This term is called no salvation. Like I said last week, because there's no correct Masa Breshit in Christianity, or in Islam for that matter, or in any other religion, there is no Masa Merkava. When there is no Masa Merkava, you are cutting the shoots. You are removing the hay. You are separating he from his name. There is no salvation. So you have to create an external way to get salvation. We got to have Jesus. We got to have this guy to save us. We got to have that guy to save us. We got to have this Savior. We got to have some salvation.
All false.
What?
Is it all false?
All false. Yeah. Yeah, all false. We have to rig something up that's a Merkava that's going to drive us, get us from here to there. Because we can't do it on our own. But you can do it on your own. Because once you have the Torah, it is the thing that pulls you back. Because you have, when you create union above, it creates union below. The dance of Hasidim and Guvarot. So, what he's saying is, if he's in the middle, and there's four corners, there's four faces. So pretend you're in the center, and there's four. If you're in the center column, so to speak. So there's four. Now each one is only a hologram of the one in the center. You ever seen a hologram before? Doesn't matter which way you walk around it, it's still looking at you. Okay? You can walk 360 degrees around a hologram, and we had one in physics class when I was in college. And when you walked into the physics lab, there was a podium right in the big double doors in the foyer, and there was a hologram of a woman's head right there. It's a floating head inside a glass box. I walked by it every day for 3 years almost. You walk around that sucker, and she looked at you. It didn't matter which way you went. She was always looking at you. If you were coming in the front door or leaving going out, she was looking at you. Because 4D is holographic. So if there's one, it's everyone else is only a projection of the holographic oneness. Doesn't matter. Okay? There's always 4 corners, north, south, east, and west, as you were reading a while ago. There's always Yud, Hey, Vav, Hey, the 4. Adonai, Aleph, Dalet, Nun, Yud, the 4. All superior creatures have 4 limbs. Birds have 2 wings, 2 legs, right? We have 2 arms, 2 legs. Why? They're for movement, for Merkava. As above, so below. We are created in the demut, in the image, in the likeness, the tselem, that we studied last week. So now let's read 15 again, and we should have a better understanding of what he was trying to explain. I saw the Hayot, and behold, one ophon was on the surface near each of the Hayots by its 4 faces. We got it. Now, 16. The appearance of the ophon and their nature were like the color of Tarshish. Do anybody know what Tarshish is? It's crystal. With the same likeness for the 4 of them, and their appearance and their works were as if they would be an ophon within an ophon, a wheel within a wheel. How many times have you heard preachers trying to explain to you what a wheel within a wheel was? Verse 16, behold, the ophonim do not have light illuminating and radiating as the Hayots do. Why? They're Malchut. They have nothing of their own. They only can radiate what they get. And they can't get the whole thing because it runs and returns. They can only get a little piece because that's the way it works. So the higher you go up, the brighter it gets. You think you can see God? You can't even see an ophon. You can't even stand the light. Because they can't stand the light. Unless you're looking in the same direction. The reason that they do not contain the same illuminating and radiating light as the Hayot is because they are lesser, as opposed to Hayot that are greater. Greater Metatron, lesser Metatron. And then the Hayot are lesser Metatron for the Seraphim that are greater Metatron, and so on and so on and so on and so on. It's only greater and lesser, greater and lesser, greater and lesser. Rather, they are like crystal, Tarshish, as their appearance and actions are like crystal. What happens to crystal when you hit a light? You see all the colors and the fractals and everything coming out of it, right? And they are dispersing the light so that the rest of the world can handle it. What are these deeds or actions? This is how they operate in alignment with the light or the ore. And it is the same as the semblance for the 4. If there is 1, there is always 4. Because this is 4D. In 3D, you can talk about 1. Michael, Gabriel, Raphael, Uriel, whatever. But you can't in 4D. There's always 4. because there's always 4 quadrants, because it's always 4D. It's a hypercube. There's a cube, but the corners are always, Google hypercube on the internet and watch it, and you'll see there's always 4 coming out. Boom, 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 always. All right? So here we can talk about a cube, but what if the cube is turning inside out on itself all the time? Let me see if I can even find a video right quick to show. Okay, videos. See if we can find something here. Gotta listen to a commercial. That ain't a very good one. Oh, yeah.
See that?
Yeah, there you go, Russell.
Hand it down into the-
Yeah, you got it right there.
It ain't going down. I think you move it. Go to the next one. Slide it over.
Maybe we can reboot it. There it is. Wheel within a wheel. Ophon within an ophon. It's always moving.
Running and return.
Running and returning. Okay? That's a good visual. Good job, Russell.
I'm a good student.
Get a gold star. But here we can only talk about a cube. Unless we have something like that we can use as a teaching tool, right? Mm-hmm. They do this in order that they should always be equal in function, and the unification is necessary for the servants. Everything is always spread out to each throughout the ophon. This is the secret of he makes peace in high places. Shalom, it's union. He makes peace. It's everything is union in his heights. Why? Because it's the alignment of the wheels. If you have one wheel on your car that's out of alignment, it's going to pull it in a direction that the Merkaba, is not supposed to go. So in 4D, everything is in alignment. The ophon within ophon, and the shefa is distributed equally so that everything runs in the direction it's supposed to run in. Known as making peace in his heights. It is not an easy thing to make peace in the heights, because the lower levels must do the same. As it says, an ophon within an ophon, a wheel within a wheel. The appearance is Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh, and the actions is Adonai. They were same in appearance and in action. What does it mean, one within the other? It means that they are so in alignment with their mission, their operation, as if one was literally inside the other. The light of this one is the light that is in that one. And the soul that is in this one is the soul that is in that one. So we've always looked at a torus from the side. But if you look at a torus, you know the toroidal motion. But if you look at it from underneath, like he's getting to see it, it's a wheel within a wheel. It's coming, it's a donut. The donut is turning in on itself all the time, within and within. And it's all in uniform and all in motion and all equal and all in the same action because it's running on the same wavelength, okay? So if you take a crystal glass and you put water in it, hasidim, and you have a constant steady motion on the circular part, it will create a sound wave. And this is why. Because that is a 3D result of a 4D math, of 4D physics, right? And so you can change the level of frequency depending on how much water you have in the glass, how much shefa it has in it. It will create different tone. So now that is the end of 16. Let's read 16 again, and now we should have a better grasp. The appearance of the Ophanim and their nature were like the color of Tarshish, or crystal, with the same likeness for the four of them. And their appearance and their works were as if they were an ophan within an ophan, or a wheel within a wheel. Now we have a better understanding of what that means.
And you know, that's a crystal glass too that make the
That's why I use that as a
yeah, you know, just get a glass from Walmart.
right, a crystal, but it's got to be because the crystal is thing that carries a frequency. Okay, 17. When they went, they would go back toward their four sides. They did not turn as they went, because they are a hologram. They always go straight. It's all holography. It is always looking straight. These terms, as Vali is explaining above, it is all about what is mashpia, which means thing that's giving, mashpia. And it's all about the thing that is receiving, mikubal, like the mikubalim. Where do you think, what does Kabbalah sound like? Kabbalah. Kabbalah means receiving. All right? Why are we in Kabbalah? Because we're trying to do the Merkava. We didn't even know it. Without Kabbalah, there is no Merkava. And what is the one thing most everybody tells non-Jews not to do? Study Kabbalah. No Kabbalah, no Merkava. Okay? Because it's Maspia, Mikabel, based on giving and receiving from greater to lesser. As they have explained in the Zohar, a man and his house, they came. The angelic realm. So why does the Zohar explain that the angels come like a man in his house? How can this be in the supernal region? Is there a man and a house in 4D? Or are they talking about the giving and receiving? For there is neither male or female in 4D, as we learned last week. It's only the upper giving to the lower. That lower is now female, the thing that receives. But when that lower gives to the lower below it, it is now male. And, you know, how is Adonai male and Shekhinah female, and it's the same thing? This is what drives people crazy when they're trying to learn Torah. How can David be the Malchut and he's male and the Nukva is female? And it's the same thing. Because there is no gender in Torah. It's only the giver and the receiver. It's only male and female when you define which one is giving and which one is, and female of which one is receiving. Only. Lesser and greater. Is the greater Metatron male? Or is the lesser Metatron male? It depends. You know? So, but at least now, when you look at it as Masa Breshit is male, Masa Merkava is female. You know? When Rabbi Bax taught me, it was Masa Breshit. I was Masa Merkava when I was learning. Now I'm Masa Breshit, y'all Masa Merkava. You see? I'm male, y'all are female. All of you. You know? Doesn't matter if you're guys sitting here.
I was at work today, being Masa Bershi.
That's right. And everybody under you is Masa Merkava. They're the lesser.
They were getting it today. I got it. So bad.
You know today in today's society, there's this huge push of everything being equal. Nothing is equal. There's always boss, right? There's always boss guy. You're not, this whole thing about socialism is, well, he makes $1 million a year and we do all the work and we make $20 an hour or $10 an hour. He should take all that money and give it to all of us equally. Well, you got nothing to lose. He put up all the money to start the company. If the company goes down, he goes bankrupt, you go get another job. You can only get what's given to you. It's going to work like that in 4D. They're trying, it's really changing the forces. There's no equal. There's always something higher than you. Just the way it is. All right, off my soapbox. Now, for there is neither male or female. Rashi says, everything is sometimes male and sometimes female. Sometimes holy, sometimes demons. Depends on where it's at, right? Those that are being given versus those that are receiving, which is the secret of a man and his house, is how the Zohar is speaking of the angels. And the angels came down like a man in his house, because the house is the vessel. Now, if you will now, there is a term here. In 17, when they went, they would go toward their four sides. The word four sides here. And they did not turn as they went. Ravali says this word riva, or four sides, is the same root word as sit upon, four sides, or to square something. But it also means to mate, to have union. All right? So he's using it as it's a quadratic structure, but it's all in union. That one word right here in Hebrew means both. It can also mean crouching or lying down. This is Yud He Vav He with Adonai. Riva. Every time it says four or four sides, this is what it's coming to explain. It's in union and it's quadratic. The higher level is Riva with the lower level. The term toward the four sides is talking about a zivug, a Riva. If you will now turn to Numbers.
Is that the four faces? Is that what?
Yeah, it could be four faces, four sides, for this, and the four keruv, the little ones and the big ones. There's so many symbolic fours. Yud He Vav He, Adonai. It's Riva, but it's one thing. It's not four different things, because it's only projection in every direction, the four worlds, out of the center. There's four legs of the throne, that type of deal. So if you will go now to Numbers 23 and 10. Numbers 23 and 10. It says, this is Balaam when he is trying to curse/bless Israel. It says, who has counted the dust of Jacob or numbered a quarter of Israel? The word quarter here is rova, which is the same as reba. Those words are interchangeable. What he's saying is, who has counted the number of unions of Israel? Who has counted that? Because Israel has unions beyond unions beyond unions. Why? Because it's a covenant and it's sealed. It's Ritzov V'Shov. All right? He says also the Peshat here is not lacking because all of them are pointing to their side and they do not look at their neighbor because they all have the same shefa given from the one above. They're all making $10 an hour, right? Because they are happy with their portion. That's why it says they don't turn aside. They're all focused, they're mission focused because it's coming from the center. So, let's read it. When they went, they would go toward their four sides. They did not turn as they went. And that is the explanation of that verse. Now, 18. This is our last verse for the day. They had backs, and they were tall, and they were fearsome, and their backs were full of eyes surrounding the four of them. Rob Bali says, backs? How can they have backs? Is there a backside in 4D? God forbid. You know? Turn to Hagiga 15, A2. You notice all of this in Hagiga is right before those that went into the Pardes. How many went into the Pardes?
4.
Wonder why? You think they knew something that they were going to do? Because, you know, this is also a very good meditation deal. That if you want to really crank up the Merkava, get 4 people, sit opposite each other, looking at each other, and do a meditation. Because there is a precedent that 4 works. You know? Okay, 15A2. 15A2. Let's see here. Trying to figure out why I wrote this. Let's see. Oh, the Gemara asks on the right-hand page. The verse is talking about this this piece that your teacher should be like an angel of Hashem, right? And Gemara says the verse contradicts the other. The first verse requires a teacher to be like an angel before the one before you may learn from him, whereas the latter 2 verses advise one may incline his ear to the words of a wise man if the wise man themselves is wicked, ? The Gemara answers, this is not difficult. This verse, which encourages one to learn from a wise man despite his wickedness, is addressed to a mature person. Why? Because Rebbe Meir learned from Acher. And what did he say? oh, I keep the wheat and throw away the chaff. You know? Then the verse which encourages one to learn from a wise man, this is because he is, even though he is wicked, is to a mature person. But this verse which requires a teacher to be like an angel of God, like a Metatron, is said to be in reference to a person who has not reached that level of maturity and who may not be led astray. One is lesser Metatron, one is greater Metatron. One is Masa Breshit, one is Masa Merkava. Only one who is high up in the level of like Rebbe Meir can you learn from somebody like that, which is backside, we'll call it, you know? So Ravali says they have backs, they have height, they have fear, alluding to they have they have panim va'akaraim. But what is it? The secret is Sar HaPanim, minister of the faces. Do they have backside faces? And just front side faces? But there is no backside there. The secret was in what Rebbe Meir and the Gemara was just trying to tell us. One is a greater face, and one is a lesser face. So there were, the Hayot are greater faces, they have lesser faces. Just makes sense. Lesser Metatron, greater Metatron. Okay? Alluding to that they have Panim V'Akaraim, and many faces to faces, and backsides to backsides, and backsides that is the furthest away, will always be lower than this one, and the lesser than the one in front of it. So, remember last week, we stated there was a greater Metatron, and there was a lesser Metatron, and then there was a lesser of the lesser Metatron, and then there was the very small lesser Metatron. That is the back of this one, and this one is the back of that one, and that one is the back of that one. But there's no such thing as its back. It's only its lesser one. Telescoping. But that's the word that they use.
They just use back.
They just use back instead of lesser. In Russell, do you have Bava Batra up there? And see if you can find Bava Batra 58.
If 58 is going to be over here, Teresa.
No, 58 is in the tractate.
Oh, okay.
Let's see here. Bava Kama, Bava Batra. 58. 103. Bava Batra 58. I'll see if I can find this right quick. Bava Batra 58. And this is throughout the Talmud. If it's not, I'll just summate it. All right, we'll just go from here. We'll kind of wing it. Rav Banana said, I glimpsed at Adam's two heels from outside the crypt. He's talking about being at Machpelah. And they were like two orbs of the sun, so radiant was the skin. The Gemara cites a related teaching. The radiance of any person's countenance is compared to Sarah is like that of a monkey who is compared to a human being. And the radiance of the countenance of Sarah compared to that of Eve is like the radiance of a monkey compared to that of a human being. And the radiance of Eve compared to that of Adam is like the radiance of a monkey compared to a human being. And the countenance of Adam compared to the Shekhinah is like that of a monkey compared to a human being. And so on, and so on, and so on, and so on. So the lesser, the back, the lesser is always compared to a human, the level from the human's intelligence and looks to a monkey's looks and intelligence. Even though a monkey looks like a person, can't talk, but looks like a person, has hands like a person, they are so much lower than that person. And a person compared to Sarah is like a monkey. And Sarah compared to Eve is like a monkey. And so on and so all the way up. That is the gradations as it's going down. And the Talmud uses that greater, lesser, greater, lesser, greater, lesser, greater, lesser. And this is Acher's problem. He mistook the lesser for the greater. Or he says, then there's two. Well, there must be two. You can't do it. Even though it's only in that form so you can take it. So you can take that shefa. Because the higher is known as fear. No, fear of God is the beginning of wisdom. Understanding there is so much, it's so above you and it's so powerful. And so if you don't have the awe of that, you'll never understand God or Torah. That you are, like an ant compared to God. Any aspect of the lower will be of the higher and the one below it. This is all. Ye'ira. The word all. Awesome, all full. Full of all. And it is fearful of this Ye'ira of the one above it. And then the one above it. Fear is knowing your inferiority and acknowledging superiority simultaneously. That is the definition of fear of God. Of understanding your inferiority and understanding his superiority at the same time. It is only relative to that which is below versus that which is above. All humans should understand this Musar. This is known as real peace. Real peace can only be understood if you know you're inferior and something is greater. Doesn't matter what it is. When you're battling for the same position, there's no peace. But there's always peace once you understand maybe that guy is a better quarterback than me, let's just take it in those terms. Tom Brady's better than me. I have to acknowledge that, and I have to accept that I'm worse than him. Most people's egos are too big to accept their inferiority and acknowledge somebody else's superiority. They have no fear. And their backs were full of eyes to teach us that they don't have physicality about them. Their eye of consciousness doesn't extend to that which is before them. So, how do you have eyes in your back? If this one has two eyes, and this one has two eyes, and this one has two eyes, and this one has two eyes. You see what I'm saying? When you're looking at it, it's just eyes. because you're seeing the eyes of the ophim, you're seeing the eyes of the Hayot, you're seeing the eyes of the seraphim, because they all have each other's back, because there is no back. It's an ophim within an ophim. It's a wheel within a wheel within a wheel. Says it, the Kashi is Metatron. We read it in the book of Enoch. Metatron has 365 eyes. Well, that's an odd number. But there's 365 days in the year, and there's 365 negative commandments. And there's a lot of things going on. Why? It's telling you about the totality of everything inside of everything, and there's no such thing as two eyes. If you're seeing two eyes, you're not seeing the rest of the matter. Okay? Because 4D eyes see and they overlook 360 degrees all the way around. Because it's face within face, and in their back, nothing is hidden from them. Because it's 4 quadrants. So when he tells Moses, come, you must enter through my backside, right? Then he's having to come up he's having to go up. It's not he had walked in through the back and looking through the front, although they're looking in the same direction. He's having, because it's 360. Does God have a back? No. He's having to reshove all the way up. It's holographic. All right? Why does it have to say surrounding? Because that which is above is hidden and concealed. The surrounding is only on the horizontal. When they move, they are only directed by the upper. In other words, they are only moving this way. If the Hayot move this way, the Ophanim move this way. Like a chariot, like a rider in a chariot, right? The rider is driving the horse. If he goes this way, the chariot goes that way. That's just the way it moves. They can do nothing without God telling them which way to move and how to move. And so if you think you're not talking to God when you see an angel, you've made a mistake. Oh, it's just an angel. Well, yeah. But he can't say anything unless the one above him moves his mouth, and the one above him moves his mouth, and the one above him moves his mouth. And the 3 angels showed up to Abraham, and Abraham talked with God. Of course he did. But it has to go through the system first. And an angel appeared to Moses, and Moses spoke with God. Of course he did. It has to go through the system. And he bowed down before the angel. Of course he did. Is he worshiping the angel? No. He has fear of the thing above it because he realizes his inferiority simultaneously. Therefore, the Hayot says, blessed is the glory of Hashem from this place. Turn to Haggiah 13. B2. Bottom paragraph. The Gemara questions the last statement. It is this indeed so that he weaves crowns for his creator? This implies he knows where to place the finished crowns. But it is written, blessed is the glory of Hashem from his place. Of course he knows, because that's where the direction came from. And the Torah is amazing, and the sages are amazing, and we'll see you next week with more Ezekiel.